Line Committee. This is Brother Sean Del Rosa and Carlos Gonzalez.
Hi.
Sean didn't get the memo about the t-shirt today. And I will hand it to Sean.
Hello. I'm losing my voice. So there. This one is NCP54-CR01. It is titled Staffing Solutions. Whereas the fraternity places large demands on any venue it uses for events of this magnitude, and whereas the fraternity's needs for the 2012 National Convention created many last-minute changes for the hotel staff, and whereas the hotel staff met and exceeded our every need and expectation, therefore be it resolved that the hotel staff, especially Freddie, Mustafa, Tony, Dan, and Dawn, have our heartfelt appreciation for all of their hard work and patience. Let's take a moment to give them a round of applause.
Or CR-02, staff success. Whereas the members of Phi Beta Alpha Sinfonia, an honored guest, have come to celebrate the 2012 National Convention and experience the power of music. And whereas the national staff and volunteers have given generously of their time and talents in the interest of ensuring the well-being of the delegates of the National Assembly, the members at large, and honored guests. And whereas the national staff have provided a willingness to go above and beyond their responsibilities, therefore be it resolved that we have experienced a wonderful and magnificent convention that will carry on in our memories for years to come, and that the national staff and volunteers have our utmost gratitude for their hard work. Let's give them a hand.
NCP54-CR03, concerning restructuring. Whereas the fraternity's governing documents need to be as clear and concise as possible, and whereas the delegates of the 2012 convention adopted a significantly restructured national constitution and bylaws, and whereas the 2009 to 2012 Legislative Committee, in particular Mark Lichtenberg, made this restructuring possible, therefore be it resolved that Mark Lichtenberg and the Legislative Committee have the National Assembly's greatest thanks for making the governing documents easier to use and therefore more effective. Different ones. This is NCP54-CR04, concerning traditional wit. Whereas it is the tradition of the Resolutions Committee to present witty and comedic resolutions at each convention's closing, and whereas these resolutions are often based on humorous events during the convention, and whereas nothing particularly amusing has happened in the 2012 therefore be it resolved that the tradition of presenting these comedic courtesy resolutions be foregone for the 2012.
I found some.
This is NCP54-CR05, the mark of a Lichtenberg. Whereas Mark Lichtenberg's work and contributions to the revision and understanding of the ritual over the years has been profound, and whereas Mark's work on the restructuring of the governing documents will surely provide clarity for generations of collegians to come, and whereas there's been a recurring theme in the courtesy resolutions for the past few conventions, therefore be it resolved that Mark Lichtenberg, seriously, get a life.
CR06. Here's a different title. So he's Obi-Wan Manjobi. Where John Manjobi's work in ritual research, education, and revision over many years has had a notable impact on the fraternity, and whereas it was resolved at previous conventions that John get a life, and whereas John has not revealed any new and groundbreaking information about the ritual in the 2009-2012 triennium, therefore be it resolved that John Manjobi stop having life and get back to work.
Before I say this one, I have to say sofa. This one is labeled NCP 54CR-07. This one is called The Running of the Delegates. Whereas time constraints during sessions of the National Assembly require limits on discussion, and whereas the 30-second bell is often cause for delegates to race to the microphone. That you can laugh. And whereas some of the delegates have more trouble than others reaching the microphone in a timely manner, therefore be it resolved that delegate seating for the National Assembly may be arranged by delegate size, with the larger brothers in the front. Sofa approved.
NCP 54CR-08, the Great State. Whereas many delegates of the National Assembly have a great deal of pride in their states, and whereas many delegates introduce themselves as being from the great state of
California!
And whereas it was resolved in 2009 that Nevada is in fact the greatest state, therefore be it resolved that a tax of $1 million be assessed to any delegate using the phrase the great state, unless referring to the great state of Nevada.
NCP 54CR-09. This one is called Redundancy. Whereas Committeeman at Large Dean Shatley appreciates redundancy, and whereas Committeeman at Large Dean Shatley appreciates redundancy, and whereas Committeeman at Large Dean Shatley appreciates redundancy, therefore be it resolved that Committeeman at Large Dean Shatley, Committeeman at Large for 2009 to 2015, be appointed chair of the Committee on Redundancy Committee.
CP54CR-10, pilgrimage to Israel, also known as like golden butter. Whereas John Israel has proved himself a capable chair of the Province Governor's Council, and whereas John has demonstrated that he can keep many proverbial balls in the air, and whereas John still manages to drop things from time to time, therefore be it resolved that John Israel will now be known by the nickname Butterfingers. The 2012 National Convention. I know it's said. NCP 54CR-11, performance review. Whereas the appointees to the Resolutions Committee for the 2012 National Convention are Paul Tan, Carlos Gonzalez, and Sean Rosso. And whereas no propositions for legislation or resolution were actually brought to the committee, and whereas the Resolutions Committee for the 2012 Convention accomplished absolutely nothing, therefore be it resolved that Paul Tan